it just recorded something, but it was only 1 minute and it didn't record. So let me try to regurgitate what I was saying. But basically, like, everyone has a why on why they came into this construct. Let me make sure. Okay, okay, it's working. The sound. So everyone has a why. We all created our blueprint. The creator gave us free will. When he made our soul, we all have free will. That's why nothing is technically predestined. Like connections, it's hard to say nothing is predestined because people that you are supposed to meet, you're supposed to meet at a certain time because you created that in your soul contract that you guys were going to meet at this certain time and trigger each other's spiritual awakening or whatever, right? And then also things are quote unquote somewhat predestined because of the karmic lesson. So say you had karmic debt that you need to pay in your past lifetime, lessons that you haven't learned lifetime after lifetime, then you're going to have to you're going to meet those people at a certain time to learn the lesson that you're supposed to learn, right? So it's like, for example, what I was saying with my blueprint being on an accelerated timeline to raise my frequency, the lessons are way more challenging because of the fact that I want to close out these karmic decks so that I can move on to a higher vibrational planet. So we all create the blueprint of what we want to do in this construct, in whatever planet we're on. So for example, we all can get caught up in the 3D world and materialism and status and all of these things that are basically not allowing us to raise our frequency when we are greedy about it, when we are using others to get it, when we are, like what I said, not sharing. Like when we're staying in those lower vibration where we are hurting others in order to get the things in this materialistic world, or reacting to things that are hurting other people, right? Or choosing not to care about other people's feelings and how our actions impact them. When we're doing all these things, that wasn't the blueprint that you created. You created a blueprint of wanting to raise your frequency because everyone at the end of the day, no matter what your role is, whether it's to build, whether it's to heal, whatever your role is that you came in here to do, you your end goal is always to raise your frequency. So whatever path you choose, whatever character you choose to make that happen with, you're still supposed to you're still guided, your whole soul's purpose. And I think Jesus talks about this in the Talmud of Emmanuel, that our whole purpose is to perfect our soul. And how do we perfect our souls? By learning the lesson. And what are the lessons? How to work on our shadows, see the things that trigger us, because those have been triggering us for lifetime after lifetime. Those have been triggering our ancestors, and we're supposed to break that generational curse by not letting that thing trigger us, or setting up healthy boundaries where we're not associating with those people who trigger us, or not allowing them to treat us in that way that triggers us. So and doing good deeds, sharing our wealth when we get it, helping others, giving unconditional love to others, forgiving others. And the thing is, it's like when you forgive people, it doesn't mean that you necessarily let them back into your life to repeat the same things that are going to trigger your nervous system and break you down and make you feel unworthy. No, you forgive these people and you send them on their way, you wish them well, but you move on from that situation, whether it's family, friends, lovers. You move on from those situations because then you're not closing out the karma connection by releasing those people. Some people, you guys can work it out if they're working on bettering themselves, if they see their wrongs and they take accountability. Yes, some people you can work it out with them. But if they're choosing not to take accountability and they're not on this path of growth, then that cycle just has to be ended, for you to keep growing. So it's like you've probably been a person that has gone through lots of different cycles with people, friendships, family members, all of these things. You've probably gone, relationships even, you probably went through cycles of releasing people and moving on from the situation because you're like, this doesn't serve me. This is not in alignment with who I am anymore because I've grown past that situation. So that's why you close out cycles at accelerated rate, because you're in alignment with what you came here to do. So you're actually living on you're actually fulfilling your blueprint, where you could have not fulfilled your blueprint and basically failed in this lifetime by choosing to stay in a low vibrational state, giving into substances, continuing allowing to substances to rule your life, and not learning from these romantic relationships and attracting in a new partner that is the same, right? But by you gaining the self-worth, the self-love, the bettering yourself, growing, like getting good at things that you want to get good at, following your passions, taking long lined action, standing in your independence. Like these are all the things that is how you raise your frequency. It's not easy. You probably still get frustrated and anxious and overwhelmed, but that's like the quote unquote last layer that you need to release, that is part of the construct, the negative programming that triggers all of us. We all have something in here that frustrates us, and we need to learn patience to not get frustrated and overwhelmed in those situations, and we need to find a way to overcome those, right? But as you go on this journey of closing out those things, the lessons get easier and easier, and easier in the sense where you've learned the lesson from the past. So now you're getting to a more place where peace, right? Obtaining your peace. So that's the ultimate goal, is to feel peace in your environment, with the people that you surround yourself with your thoughts. Like the whole purpose is to raise our frequency, and by us raising our frequency to that place where we feel good about ourselves and where we're authentic, is what comes out of that. What's the result of that is peace, you know? So my messages are usually long because I get a lot of different things that are coming in at the same time, and then I'm putting puzzle pieces together in my subconscious as well. Hold on, let me make sure this is working. So yeah, so basically what she was saying is like figuring out the why. And I'm always like that. What do I preach, guys? I'm like, find out the why things are the way they are. What's the bigger picture of everything? Modern day Socrates. I'm always trying to figure out the why. And the thing is, even in my life, with situations that have happened, why have they happened, right? So for example, certain romantic relationships ending, that was to trigger my spiritual awakening. So other romantic relationships ending, that was to allow me to stand in my self-worth and know what I want, and only allow things that align with my soul and people who understand me, right? Not settling in a relationship because someone has some of the qualities that you like. No, it's making sure that someone has chemistry and compatibility and truly understands you and cares about you and makes you feel safe and secure, right? That's where I'm at now. And side note, don't allow people to convince you that chemistry fades over time. No, when you have solid chemistry with someone, when you have chemistry and compatibility with someone, then chemistry does not fade at all. Chemistry is only fades when when the chemistry wasn't strong to begin with, when you just had compatibility with someone. Maybe you might have felt a little bit of chemistry in the beginning, but it fades because you didn't have that strong chemistry with that person. It wasn't electrifying. It wasn't that that intense out of the world experience, right? So where you're just drawn to that person. So, and a lot of people don't get the chance to experience in this life because they settle in love. And then also we don't work on ourselves, so we're not attracting in the person that you have that insane chemistry with. You're attracting low vibrational people, so the relationship is low vibrational. So but the thing is, a lot of us are, hold on. And then with the chemistry and compatibility, like this is stuff you can't learn in a book. Like this is not something you can read about and learn about. Yeah, like some nuggets of information you can get, but you really learn from the experience. Like the way I'm telling you this is because I've experienced it. I've experienced both sides of the spectrum. I've experienced relationships where I just had compatibility with people, relationships, and they were my best friends and they were good guys. And I didn't want to leave the relationship because of the fact that I'm like, this is my best friend. Like, how could I end this relationship when they're my best friend, right? And I felt some chemistry towards. So it's like, yeah, they were my best friend. We would laugh together, we'd joke around, we'd have fun together. But still, I was unhappy in those relationships because I didn't feel that chemistry. I didn't feel sexually satisfied in those relationships. And I always would question myself, like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just feel good around this person? Why can't I feel that passion for this person? I love them. I love who they are. We have fun together. We laugh together. We get along, but I just don't feel that desire. So that's why I preach this so hard. I preach vibration. I haven't been talking about chemistry and compatibility for a while, but maybe I need to talk about that more. But it's like when you align with someone, and there's only very few people who I've aligned with who I've had chemistry and compatibility with. There's some people I've only had chemistry with and I didn't really have that compatibility, where I felt safe to be myself and be authentic. It's like I was wearing a mask in those situations. But there's few, very, 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 maybe a couple only, of people that I felt chemistry and compatibility with, where I felt safe, I felt able to be my authentic self, express myself, laugh with, have fun with. They were my best friend, and yet I had this crazy chemistry towards them. So it's like when you align in that sense, you feel so much more fulfilled. You feel happy. You feel guilty. There's a glow to you. I mean, you not guilty. You feel giddy. There's like a glow to you. And then in the relationship where you just have compatibility, you're just settling because you don't feel passion. It's like working a job that you don't feel passionate about, but you're doing it to pay the bills, right? You don't feel passionate about it, so you're unhappy in that job. No matter how much money you're making, no matter how many nice things you can buy for yourself, how many nice places you can go, you're unhappy because you're not passionate about that job. That's the same thing as when you have a relationship with someone who you're compatible with. It's like, yeah, you have this amazing friendship with them, but you're unhappy because of the fact that the chemistry, the thing that you connect on, the intimacy is just not there. And you're like, and you hate yourself for it because you're like, look, I got a good guy. I got someone who's my best friend. They're good looking, this, that, whatever, right? They're my ideal type, but the chemistry is not there. And that's why it's like, this is something we need to preach to everyone. Like, girls, when they start dating, like, don't just settle. Don't just look for these traits that someone has. Know the traits that you want in a person. Someone who's ambitious, someone who's kind, someone who's gentle. But also, if someone has those traits and you don't feel chemistry towards them, then there's no point of breaking that person's heart and getting into that relationship. And same thing, if you have chemistry towards someone and they don't have the traits that you want in your life, that doesn't make you feel safe and you don't feel authentic, don't pursue that relationship because you're going to get your heart broken. So it's like really chemistry and compatibility matter, and that's a lesson. Maybe that was one of the lessons that I need to learn. That was a romantic lesson that I need to learn, and about not settling and staying alone until I find the person that has both chemistry and compatibility with, someone who chooses me and I choose them, and that is working every day to not let our insecurity and our shadows ruin the relationship, but talk through and communicate effectively and have emotional intelligence, right? That's why substances and everything, I don't think that they should be in a relationship and people shouldn't be doing it, because what happens, a lot of people get into fights because of substances, right? And say the wrong thing or feel hurt. Like, one thing can trigger you and you're not thinking clearly with what you say. You're just letting stuff come out of your mouth that you don't mean, but just from a hurt, wounded place. So it's better to have like sober relationship, because then you can still do fun things together and have that chemistry. Like, chemistry is not based on us being intoxicated to enjoy that person. You feel the chemistry towards that person even when you're sober. You have that desire, that thing that you just want to be close to them, you know? So yeah, so that's just a side note of what I want to talk about chemistry and compatibility.